A young actress walks out her front door in 1949, promising to return by morning. She never comes home. Her purse is found days later, strap torn, with a cryptic note inside mentioning someone named Kirk. For over 70 years, Hollywood has kept her secrets buried. What if the film industry's powerful elite knew exactly what happened to Jean Spangler and made sure no one would ever find out? Tonight, we unravel the chilling mystery that Tinseltown never wanted solved. The woman behind the mystery. Jean Spangler told her 5-year-old daughter Christine she'd be back soon. That was October 7th, 1949. Christine would spend the rest of her life wondering what happened to her mother that night. Before becoming one of Hollywood's most haunting unsolved cases, Jean Elizabeth Spangler was just another young woman with silver screen dreams. Born in Seattle on September 30th, 1923, she possessed the striking beauty and magnetic charm that seemed tailor-made for the cameras. But what many don't realize about Jean's Hollywood journey was how brutally difficult it had been. Studio publicists later painted romantic tales about her being discovered, but the truth was far grimmer. Jean worked exhausting hours as a dancer and model, taking humiliating bit parts wherever she could find them, all while raising her daughter alone. "I'll get my big break this year, or I'm giving up for good," she reportedly told a friend just weeks before she vanished. Christine deserves better than watching her mother chase this dream forever. Her filmography included minor appearances in When My Baby Smiles at Me and Young Man with a Horn, always in the background, always almost invisible. But casting directors and fellow performers remembered Jean for her unwavering determination. Unlike many Hollywood hopefuls who quickly broke under rejection, Jean approached each small role with laser focus, studying her craft between auditions with the dedication of someone who knew time was running out. Her personal struggles ran deeper than most realized. At just 22, Jean's marriage to manufacturer Dexter Benner had collapsed into an ugly divorce and vicious custody battle. Court records reveal Benner had filed for full custody just weeks before Jean's disappearance, claiming she was an unfit mother due to her Hollywood ambitions and nightlife. The Jean who appeared at industry events projected carefree glamour, but friends described a different woman at home, one who meticulously budgeted her meager earnings, who sewed her own clothes to save money, who kept scrapbooks of Christine's childhood with religious devotion. In the weeks before she vanished, Jean's career showed the first real signs of momentum. She had completed a small role in Young Man with a Horn, starring Kirk Douglas, and reportedly secured another part. Her roommate later told police Jean had been happier than I'd seen her in months about her prospects. This makes what happened next all the more baffling. Would a dedicated mother on the verge of career advancement truly abandon everything? Or did something far more sinister silence Jean Spangler forever? The night she vanished. "I'll be back before you wake up, sweetheart." These were reportedly the last words Jean spoke to her daughter Christine on October 7th, 1949. It began as an ordinary evening. Jean spent the afternoon at her Wilshire district home, then prepared to go out around 5 p.m., telling her sister-in-law Sophie she had 2 errands: meeting her ex-husband about child support payments, then working on a film night shoot. Sophie later recalled to investigators that Jean seemed entirely normal, neither anxious nor excited. She wore a black dress and carried a black purse, her appearance carefully put together as always. She kissed 5-year-old Christine goodbye and walked out the door. She was never seen again. A farmer's market clerk on Hillhurst Avenue was the last person to report seeing Jean alive around 7 p.m. The clerk remembered her because she'd been a regular customer who always complimented the produce. Jean even joked about the highway robbery prices of tomatoes that evening. Nothing in her demeanor suggested fear or distress. When dawn broke with no sign of Jean, Sophie grew concerned. By afternoon, the family contacted the Los Angeles Police Department. The investigation began as a routine missing persons case. Adult disappearances rarely triggered alarms in 1949, especially in Hollywood, where stars often vanished on impulsive trips or benders. Everything changed on October 9th when a Griffith Park worker clearing brush near the Ferndale entrance made a disturbing discovery. There, partially hidden in vegetation, lay a woman's handbag with a broken strap. Inside were Jean's identification, makeup, loose change, and most significantly, a handwritten note. The note read, "Kirk, can't wait any longer. Going to see Dr. Scott. It will work best this way while Mother is away." Those 20 words transformed a routine missing persons case into one of Hollywood's most enduring mysteries, triggering an investigation that would expose the film industry's darkest corners. The location itself raised immediate questions. Griffith Park spans over 4,000 acres of rugged terrain, its winding roads and secluded trails making it both a popular recreation spot and notorious dumping ground for bodies and evidence. The purse wasn't found deep in the wilderness, but in a relatively accessible area about a mile from the park entrance. Was it deliberately placed where someone would find it, or hastily discarded by someone fleeing a crime scene? More puzzling was the handbag's condition. The broken strap suggested a violent struggle. Yet nothing inside was damaged, and all personal items remained, ruling out robbery as a motive. But it was that cryptic note, written in Jean's distinctive handwriting, that sent the investigation in its most provocative direction. The mention of Kirk immediately connected to Kirk Douglas, one of Hollywood's fastest rising stars. Jean had recently worked on Young Man with a Horn with Douglas. Was there a connection, a relationship, something more sinister? When questioned, Douglas told Detective Chief Thad Brown, "I don't remember the girl or having met her. I made a picture at Warner's, but I never met her." Yet set workers would later claim they'd seen Jean and Douglas in conversation multiple times during filming. The reference to Dr. Scott raised even more troubling possibilities in 1949 America. With abortion still criminalized nationwide, women seeking to terminate pregnancies often referred to illegal providers using code names. Multiple friends confirmed to police that Jean had confided her fear of being pregnant in the weeks before vanishing. No doctor named Scott was ever found connected to Jean, suggesting an underground abortion provider whose identity was deliberately obscured. The final part, "while Mother is away," created further confusion. Jean's mother had died years earlier. Was she referring to her former mother-in-law, Sophie, or was the note actually intended for someone else entirely? If you're finding this case as fascinating as we do, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell. Nostalgic Icons brings you the true stories behind Hollywood's greatest mysteries every week, with insights you won't find anywhere else, unraveling the theories. As the investigation intensified, 4 main theories emerged about Jean's fate. What's particularly unnerving is how each one exposes a different dark facet of Hollywood's golden age, proving that the most twisted noir films often paled compared to reality. Theory 1, the Hollywood cover-up. The most explosive theory centered on Jean's connection to Kirk Douglas. Despite his denials, rumors persisted about a possible relationship during filming of Young Man with a Horn. If Jean was indeed pregnant, as friends suspected, could Douglas or another powerful Hollywood figure have been the father? The studios had fixers whose entire job was making problems disappear, former MGM publicist Harold Jenkins revealed years later in a rare interview. When a star got a girl in trouble, the studio would step in, arrange doctors, payoffs, whatever it took. Sometimes the girl was sent away, sometimes more permanent solutions were found. Major studios maintained morality clauses for their contracted talent. An unwed pregnant actress or paternity scandal could end careers and cost studios millions. Studio heads employed teams of fixers specifically to handle problems, from arranged abortions to aggressive intimidation of potential whistleblowers. What makes this theory particularly chilling is its precedent. Similar cover-ups had occurred throughout Hollywood's history, with powerful studio heads wielding tremendous influence over police investigations involving their stars. Theory 2, the mob connection. What most historical accounts overlook is Jean's connections to Los Angeles' criminal underworld. Jean frequented nightclubs owned by notorious gangster Mickey Cohen, who controlled much of the city's criminal enterprises in the late 40s. A former LAPD detective who worked the case in 1952 later claimed, "Jean was known to date men connected to Cohen's operation. She was arm candy at mob parties. Did she see something? Hear something? In those days, people disappeared for knowing the wrong things. This theory gained credibility when investigators discovered Jean had been dating a man with suspected mob ties despite warnings from friends. The timing adds another disturbing layer. Jean vanished during a major LAPD crackdown on organized crime. Several key witnesses in high-profile cases had recently disappeared or been found dead under suspicious circumstances. If Jean had become entangled with dangerous people, her disappearance might have been a calculated message to others who might consider talking to authorities. Theory 3. The medical tragedy. The most widely accepted theory among investigators involved Jean's potential pregnancy and the mysterious Dr. Scott. Former roommates confirmed Jean had been distraught about a possible pregnancy in the weeks before she vanished. In 1949, unwed motherhood could end careers instantaneously. Underground abortion providers operated through shadowy networks, their procedures often dangerous and sometimes fatal. If something went wrong during such a procedure, those involved might have disposed of Jean's body to avoid criminal charges. This theory explains both Jean's cryptic note and why no trace of her was ever found. It's also supported by a pattern of similar cases from the era, young women who disappeared after seeking illegal procedures. But one detective who revisited the case in the 1970s posed a startling alternative. What if the note wasn't meant for Kirk Douglas at all? What if Kirk was itself a code name for the abortion provider, and Dr. Scott referred to a location or intermediary? This would explain why no doctor named Scott was ever found connected to Jean. Theory 4. The ex-husband. The most straightforward explanation centered on Jean's former husband, Dexter Benner. Their divorce had been contentious, with ongoing battles over custody of daughter Christine. Court records revealed that Benner had filed for full custody just weeks before Jean's disappearance. Was Jean planning to flee with Christine? Did an argument with Benner turn violent? Police investigated Benner thoroughly but found no concrete evidence linking him to Jean's disappearance. He had an alibi for the evening, supported by multiple witnesses. Years later, however, a childhood friend of Christine's would claim that the little girl once said something disturbing. "Daddy made Mommy go away." Was this the imagination of a child who didn't understand abandonment or something more sinister that investigators missed? What makes Jean Spangler's case particularly frustrating is the complete lack of physical evidence beyond her purse. No body was ever found, no crime scene was ever established. Jean simply vanished, leaving behind only questions. The Hollywood machine's silence. What if the most disturbing aspect of Jean's disappearance isn't the mystery itself, but how quickly Hollywood moved to erase her? Within months of Jean's disappearance, studio publicity materials no longer mentioned her name. Her small roles were uncredited in final films. Her publicity photos disappeared from casting offices. It was as if the industry collectively decided Jean Spangler had never existed. Hollywood doesn't just bury scandals, noted film historian Margaret Reynolds. It erases them completely. By 1950, Jean was a ghost, not just physically missing, but institutionally forgotten. This systematic erasure extended beyond the studios. Press coverage of Jean's disappearance, initially sensational, abruptly diminished after just a few weeks. Journalists who continued investigating reportedly received warnings from editors to move on to fresher stories. As decades passed, the investigation went cold. Jean's daughter Christine grew up never knowing what happened to her mother. Dexter Benner was awarded full custody, and Christine was eventually adopted by his new wife, the final step in erasing Jean from her daughter's life. Could this case still be solved? The most haunting aspect of Jean Spangler's disappearance isn't just that it remains unsolved, it's that with each passing year, the truth becomes more elusive. Those who knew Jean personally have largely passed away. Witnesses have died, records have been lost or destroyed. Yet in recent years, Jean's case has experienced a resurgence of interest through true crime podcasts, forums, and amateur sleuths. Some believe modern forensic techniques could potentially identify remains if they were ever found. Others focus on declassified FBI files that might contain overlooked connections. In a strange twist that highlights the case's enduring grip on the public imagination, Jean's disappearance experienced a brief resurgence of interest in 1970 when authorities arrested fugitive Elizabeth Ann Nichols in Arizona. The woman bore such a striking resemblance to Jean that for a brief, hopeful moment, authorities believed they might have found her living under an assumed identity. Fingerprint comparison quickly dispelled this theory. Some cold case experts believe Jean's disappearance represents the perfect storm of circumstances that allow cases to remain perpetually unsolved. A victim connected to powerful interests, the absence of a body, multiple plausible theories, and institutional indifference. If this happened today, noted former FBI profiler Rebecca Sanders in a recent analysis, digital footprints, cell records, and DNA would make it nearly impossible for someone to vanish so completely. The fact that we still don't know what happened to Jean speaks to how perfect the cover-up must have been. Jean's story represents something beyond a simple missing persons case. It epitomizes the darker side of Hollywood's golden age, the vulnerable aspirants, the powerful gatekeepers, and the system designed to protect the industry's carefully crafted image at all costs. What happened to Jean Spangler? Was she the victim of organized crime? Did a medical procedure gone wrong lead to a panicked cover-up? Was she eliminated to protect a powerful man's reputation? Or did she choose to disappear, reinventing herself somewhere far from the pressures of Hollywood? We may never know the truth. But what we do know is that somewhere between the glamour of the silver screen and the shadows of Griffith Park, a young mother with Hollywood dreams vanished without a trace, leaving behind a mystery that continues to haunt the City of Angels. If you think Jean's story deserves justice, share this video. The more people who know her story, the harder it becomes to erase her memory. And if you have a theory about what happened to Jean Spangler, leave it in the comments below. Let's solve this case together. Her story reminds us that behind the glitz and glamour of Hollywood's golden age were real people with real struggles, and sometimes real dangers. Jean Spangler may have vanished from sight, but through channels like ours, her story lives on. As long as we remember her, she's never truly gone. Thank you for watching Nostalgic Icons. Until next time, keep the legends alive.